This episode of Skirmish Supremacy is brought to you by Reformation Brewery, the official beer of your game night. Of course, that happens right as it starts recording. Fantastic.
There we go. Soda party.
This episode is brought to you by Carbonation. All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. Tonight is going to be a hobby banter, so Nick and I are going to be sitting back, doing a little bit of painting, talking about some stuff we have coming up, and feel free to, well, pretty much turn this one off if you want to. You're your own individuals. We can tell you whatever the hell you want to do. Nick, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. I was thinking of turning this one off, too. It sounds boring already.
And I'm the host of it. Yeah, so, folks, I am actually painting for once on a podcast, which normally I try not to do just because I'm bad at multitasking. Let's call it what it is. But, yeah, I've got photo shoots tomorrow for Ragnarok, and that's the last time I'm going to mention the game during the podcast, I promise. But Nick will be coming over tomorrow night, and we're going to be doing the photos and getting those off to Osprey in England. And, of course, as per usual, I am down to the very last minute getting this crap done. So
he is.
I'm painting dragons. Mostly just one.
That know anything, you know that he was posting pictures of him drinking beer last weekend, not painting stuff.
That's because I was in Memphis.
Mm-hmm. I didn't know paints couldn't leave a house.
They can't when you have 6-year-old twins.
Not true. Well, I mean, I don't know about the twins part, but I got a 6-year-old. He's a pain in the ass, but they still go places.
The 6-year-old, I certainly hope they can go places.
And the paints. Sometimes together, that's bad.
Yeah, see, that's what I was trying to avoid. But, yeah, so this last weekend I was in Memphis, hanging out, drinking beer. Memphis has a lot of breweries now, for those of you that are listening and you want to go start exploring breweries across the United States. I definitely recommend you go start hitting up Memphis. They are sprouting up all over down there. And they're sprouting up in actually very unique places. So, and everybody's doing stuff that's a little bit differently. You know, a lot of people, they get into craft breweries, and the first thing they do is everyone's going to make their IPAs. Why, I don't know. I hate IPAs. So, you know, I'm biased on that aspect, but they do a lot of unique stuff. So I definitely recommend checking out Memphis. If you get a chance to go to Wiseacre Brewery, they've got one of my favorites, which is Got to Get Up to Get Down. It's a milk stout.
Ah, that's what it was. I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, he was in Memphis, and because they were talking about bringing Yingling back with them to California, and how any of their East Coast friends, when they come over and they see Yingling in the fridge, you know, they start immediately stealing it. I'm like, well, that's kind of like, you know, my buddy Tim. He was in Memphis this weekend. He probably brought some of that back, and when I get over there, I know I'm stealing some of it.
There is some in the fridge for you. So, yep, it is here. So, yeah, hobby banter. So, let's, what all we got working on right now, Nick? I know we got a lot of stuff that's kind of, you know, fans in the fire or whatever the hell the statement on that is. I know that, well, this month we're planning on doing some recording for This Is Not a Test.
Speaking of This Is Not a Test, Chris Layfield, who's been massively big in helping with This Is Not a Test and in writing scenarios and painting stuff, pretty much everything. He wrote a special scenario. It's actually a cooperative scenario where you're facing the Great Devourer, and he's released it free. You can find it on his page, Layfield Paints, or in the This Is Not a Test Facebook group. But he is asking donations that go towards a walkathon for type 1 diabetes. His son was recently diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And so it's actually, I mean, it's it's a really, really great scenario, like reading it through, and knowing, some of the stuff that you have to deal with diabetes. It's darn near a children's book of, about type 1 diabetes, or a children's adventure, I guess, or scenario. So it's pretty cool. The money goes to help fund diabetes research. So that is a massive plug for that, because that popped up just recently, and I know I backed it, and Chris posted it, and I just went and I donated to his walkathon page, and he's like, and he messaged me, and he was like, hey, thanks, and make sure to read the scenario and let me know. And I'm like, oh yeah, there was a scenario with that.
I was just doing this to be a good human being, like the rest of you should.
That is definitely not to guilt anyone into doing it. It was kind of funny, because I saw it super early yesterday morning. I wasn't even awake yet. I'll be honest. I wasn't awake yet, and just kind of saw it and was reading it and was like, yeah, sure, I'll donate to that. And it was a couple hours later that he messaged me and said that, and I was like, oh hey, yeah, I will jump right on that.
That's awesome. It's always good to see people in the community doing stuff like that. Like we usually have people that do painting events for Extra Life, and anytime that there's something that they're passionate about, the communities always seem to jump in there and really help one another out. So it's always good to see something like that, especially in a positive message.
Definitely. And I know I spend plenty on the hobby, so donating some to somebody doing something good is at least makes me feel a little bit better when I spend that money.
Exactly.
Spend money other places, not that money. I don't get it. Just to clarify, I don't mean that money in particular. This is not an elaborate scheme, I promise.
Yeah, we're not fans of Ponzi schemes. But yeah, so this is not a test. Is going to be on the docket for this month's filming. We're still trying to figure out when that's going to happen, but
man, this month is getting crazier and crazier.
Yeah. Every time I turn around, it seems like there's something new going on. So tomorrow, obviously, like this is the last time we'll touch on this, but Proto Spiel Atlanta. So Nick will be showing his game off, which is Snowball Warfare, to a bunch of publishers, and hopefully making something happen with that. And yeah, we're just gonna schmooze it up the weekend and do a little bit of play testing and play a bunch of cool, yet to be published, hopefully soon to be published games. So we'll probably do a little bit of coverage, just kind of like a little bit of ad hoc stuff here and there of the event. And, again, it kind of comes down to what people are comfortable putting on there, because we're dealing with a lot of different, wannabe, I don't want to say wannabe publishers, but wannabe game designers or up and coming game designers. And, not everybody wants their stuff out there. So we'll see what we can make happen with it. But, we're going to do what we can. Yeah, past that, May has just been, it's crazy already. We've barely even started in it. And I mean, as of the recording of this, it is the 2nd, and I'm going, I don't think I have a weekend free.
That's definitely how I'm feeling. Actually, I ended up talking to my boss today, and I have, I took vacation for from tomorrow, Thursday, till Monday, and I was talking to him, and I'm like, hey, I know it's last minute, but do you mind if I just extend Monday into the following Monday? And he went, no, you're good. So I am taking a whole week's worth of vacation, now it's a week and a half, which I am thoroughly excited for. Hopefully I can catch up on some painting, or just catch up on all the other stuff that I need to get done before I get painting, and, even find some time to just relax. If I even know what that word means anymore.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm kind of excited about painting TNT, even though it still does not give you a chance to relax. Mostly because, I love my game. I'm sick and tired of painting Vikings. for now, at least. So it'd be great to do something else for a change.
Actually, that was funny because we were when we were talking about it, for everyone listening, we just got done filming Dust, and I went, I don't want to, I don't want to do kind of a historical thing again. I want to do something science fiction or something kind of like that. And we were kind of bouncing around, and we decided TNT would be the kind of the meeting point. And the first thing Tim said, when I was like, something science fiction, he's like, "Oh God, yes, no more Vikings," which is really bad when you're publishing a book about Viking combat.
It's to the point. I don't want to paint a guy with a beard. I don't want to paint a spear. And if any of them have a shield, I'm throwing the model away.
So you wouldn't like my peacekeepers. At least 2 of them have shields. They're riot shields, but they're still shields.
Okay, that's okay. But the moment you put a Viking pattern on it, I'm going to throw your model across the
room. They may suddenly show up with Viking patterns on them.
Oh, man. So, and again, it has nothing to do with me hating on my game. It's just deadlines. And folks out there, I know we've all had deadlines before. We know how it gets. You take something that's enjoyable and suddenly you're jamming it down your own throat to the point you're choking on it. So I'll be glad that this is done before I get started on the expansions. But yeah.
Definitely. Understandable.
I am actually looking forward to painting some Wasteland survivors, some / post-zombie APOC, because I'm hoping my goal is to paint some miniatures that would work equally as well for This Is Not a Test as they would for Last Days when that launches. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous in its own way, because This Is Not a Test is very post-APOC, and Last Days is, it's a 1980s, 1990s zombie horror game with, more realistic people. It's just, I wanted to do something, or I want to see if it's possible to do something that could be usable for both, that looks believable in both.
It definitely should be, because if you look at most of the models that Joey's put out, most of them don't have a lot of advanced technology. It's right. None of the weapons or anything like that are super crazy. I think the biggest difference is that with like Last Days, you don't have as many improvised weapons as you may see in something like This Is Not a Test, because
right.
Last Days, it's Last Days. The apocalypse is happening. It's not post-apocalypse, it's apocalypse.
Right.
So you do still have access to, lots of guns and ammo, depending on where you live.
Right, exactly.
So there's not as much scrap armor and stuff like that. Which, that it was funny. I was thinking about it, and I was like, Last Days, I may be getting a book in the mail from Osprey like any day that has Last Days. And like that night, I see Ash posting pictures of Last Days that he got for his proof copy.
Which for us pretty much means that within the next 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to see it in the mail.
Yeah. So I was like, yes. Of course, every day I've come home and I've been like, is there a package from Osprey yet? Is there a package from Osprey? Christian, why haven't you sent me a package yet? Because I am looking forward to checking that out. Actually, I don't know, a year ago or more, when Osprey first reached out and was like, hey, we want to send you books. What would you like to see? What are some of your interests? I, immediately wrote back Last Days, and he's like, yeah, that doesn't come out for a while yet. I was like, damn it.
It's not the point.
I still want you to send it to me. Noted.
So yeah, we're definitely excited for that one. We were talking a little bit on our post Adepticon recap that, I was in the booth right next to Ash, and he was stealing my thunder the whole time. But the point of it is that he's got a really great game, and we're both really excited to play it. As a matter of fact, I think I don't think anybody in the whole Skirmish Supremacy team, be it Nathan and Robin, I know they're not on the show very often. Nathan hasn't been on yet, but they've all expressed interest in they're kind of wanting to play something like Last Days. So we're all kind of, tentatively getting prepped. Like, will we, won't we? What's the score? What's going on? So we're going to see what happens.
And, even to that end, for basically any post-APOC or, other games such as Wild in the Streets, I've been putting together some of my modern terrain, some of the foreground that I had that's been sitting around for a while. But additionally, I've been putting together some Black Site Studio stuff. And that, I really like it. It's pre-painted terrain, just like foreground. And actually, Benson Green and I were having a conversation about it the other day. I feel it definitely does a really good job competing, giving foreground a run for its money in terms of quality of how it looks once it's assembled.
Yeah.
And even in the process of assembling it.
Well, and the cool thing of it is too, by doing the modern terrain, there's so much stuff that it works with, because there's a lot of stuff that we play. And one of the big things, like, so I think you were bringing it up. It's like all the games that you mentioned. It was, what was it? It's like, oh yeah, this could be used somewhat for Dust, TNT, Last Days. And you just kept going and going and going.
Yeah. And actually, so there was a pub that they did. If you put in an order with Black Site Studio, they also on St. Paddy's Day had a pub that they introduced, and they were giving away free with the first so many orders. And actually, they expected to, or they had the deal running all weekend, but within the first few hours, the allotment of pubs that they were giving away free was reached. So they were like, oh, it was like an hour or two. And they were like, oh, hey folks, yeah, your chances run out.
Oops.
But it was really cool. And I, after I got the pub assembled and I did a few things, I had some Wild in the Streets guys, because the nice thing with them is, though, they can look like they're in violent poses, they aren't, most of them don't have weapons, or if they do, they aren't brandishing them.
Right.
They may be holding a bat or something like that, but it doesn't necessarily, have the full-on implied violence. So I filled the pub up with people, and so there's a couple people, like, standing there yelling at the TV that I had from Kraken Wargaming, their post-APOC line. It's just this little TV, and I put it up on the shelves that come with the pub, and just different things like that. So it was kind of fun to set that up, just to do a scenic stuff. Actually, it's been a little bit ridiculous. I've been having too much fun putting together the models, and every time I do, I set up the modern board that I have, and so every time I have a new building, I keep moving stuff around. I started shaking my head at myself. I'm turning into a scale modeler.
It's a very, very fine line.
I'm like, nope, this works better over here, and then I can add this to just make this look better. And I'm like, oh, okay, just leave it alone.
Awesome. Yeah, it's and everything that you've been putting together for them so far looks really, really good for what it is. Well, I think at this point everybody pretty much knows my feelings on a lot of MDF terrain. I am very picky on my MDF terrain, so it's it has to have like a lot of depth and character to it, and a lot of the stuff from Black Site Studio definitely has that. I was looking through their stuff the other day. I was actually pretty impressed, and even like their modern houses, how they look.
Yeah, and I have one. I have the one with the carport, because that just felt obligatory to buy. Need that carport one.
Yeah, it's I'm definitely a fan, and looking forward to doing some games on there, including some modern military stuff, and things of that nature. So we'll see how that all comes about. So, oh, speaking of modern military, I do have some stuff coming from Tim over at Special Artisan Services Miniatures. So I've been wanting to paint up some military stuff lately, so I figured I'm going to get started on that.
Cool. I got the little bird from Tim over there that I put together. I haven't painted it yet, but that one's pretty sweet. I am looking forward to getting some modern games in. And actually, with if we end up playing some Last Days before too long, I probably will actually be using those modern military guys, either from him or I've jumped a little too much into modern military. I've got some PLA and Australians coming from Empress. And then I also picked up at Adepticon, I picked up some tactical tabletop simulator.
Yeah,
TTTS.
The TTTS.
Yeah. I picked up from there. I got some U.S. Army and some opposing forces guys that are pretty slick. They're the opposing forces guys are very nice and generic. You can use them for pretty much anything. So I have plenty of guys to mess around with when it comes down to deciding to put something together.
Yeah, it's I don't know. There's something about the modern military stuff that has been kind of felt like a market that's ready to have something happen. Because there's a lot of companies out there that do miniatures and have rule sets. So like, there was Force on Force by Osprey a couple of years back. Spectre obviously is doing their thing and they're doing it quite well. For those of you that are not familiar with Spectre miniatures, you could always go check them out. But it just seems like that's something that as a whole, like people want more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, I keep seeing, a lot of people asking for, rule sets for this or rule sets for that. So, it very much does seem like there's a big opening in that community for just doing more. So I don't know. I've only played a couple of modern games, but I've enjoyed them. That's the other scary part. I seem to keep liking, the historical and modern stuff. Which, speaking of historical, other than my intense saga addiction, I have now the Gangs of Rome. Andy Hobday. He has completely sold me on Gangs of Rome. They released the Blood on the Aventine 2-player starter set, and I jumped all over that. It's a great deal. It's like was it 50 pounds? I think it was 50 pound, and you got a building, a temple under construction, 6 fighters, 3 for each side, the cards for them. Now they are instead of being the interchangeable ones, they are single pose models that already have stuff. Normally you get a few different weapons and heads, and they already have all their cards laid out. So, not as great as what you would normally get, but, for a starter set, it's perfect because, there is no questions on, what am I doing with this or that, or, it's boom, here you go. But then it also came with the rule book, some of the tokens, all the dice you need, everything. And then a special character that is called Nicola. It's a citizen. So it's an NPC in the game that, in this case, anyone who comes within a certain range of the temple under construction, he throws roof tiles at them. So he's trying to keep these gangs who are fighting out of there. And since the temple is under construction, They also had some other under construction sets that I bought, and then I bought a few more buildings. I'm waiting for them to arrive, and I have a board planned right now that is going to be Rome under construction. So it's going to be a whole section of the city that has like an artisan's workshop and a craftsman's workshop, set of buildings, and a warehouse where goods are stored and stuff like that. But everything else is like under construction.
Nice.
And of course, they also released the under construction aqueduct. So I am probably going to end up picking those up.
So you're going to construct your under construction set.
I am going to construct an under construction set. See that scale modeler thing that I talked about? That's what happens. Damn it.
Damn you, hobby.
But, I mean, it was actually to the point where yesterday I was looking up. I'm like, okay, did they dig ditches so that I have to raise it up, raise the board up so high so that then I can dig into the board to, make it look like they're digging a foundation? The answer is yes.
Well, there you go. So basically what I'm gathering out of all this is you're fucked. So, well, on top of that too, though, I mean, you've been getting a terrain kick lately, and I know that you have been working on some test casts and things like that to kind of get some side terrain business going. How has that been going for you so far?
So far so good. I've definitely spent more than I've made.
Well, that's natural.
Yeah. I'm getting stuff together, really, trying to refine some of the things that I've been doing, and looking at some of the things that I can do to improve on. And yeah, I have a few ideas in mind, and I'm getting that together, and I've slowly been pushing it out there. I did have a couple questions on if I was actually looking at doing it full time the other day, and I was like, yes. Well, not full time, but actually, having it as a side business. And I said yes, and they're like, oh, well, we'll need to talk. So
nice. There you go.
Yep.
So, and I know that you've got a couple projects right now that you kind of have under construction that are not other people's stuff, but like I know you're doing some stuff for your relic blade table that you're hoping to be able to replicate and cast and do stuff like that. I know you had the temple on the hill, or the temple built into the side of the hill, and a couple other things that you're working on.
Yeah, the watchtower. That's coming along. It's changed form for what I originally was envisioning. I'm gonna have to go back and build what I was actually envisioning later on, but it's become a big focal piece.
Nice.
Which isn't a terrible thing. Just ends up being different. So that it's at the stage now where I'm starting to carve in the rock detail, and it's going to be a combination of carving it in and molds of rock detail for along the sides of it.
Right.
But that's kind of been sitting. I mean, it stands like, I don't know, 8 inches tall, maybe a little bit taller. So, it kind of stands right there in front of me every time I walk in the hobby room, and I'm like, yes, I know. I'll get to working on you.
Hey, asshole.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Damn it. The thieves didn't break in and take it. Though I shouldn't joke like that. I did see that Ronnie Retton from Mantic, he had his house broken into, and the guy came in the back door and was making off with his not Dreadball, or is it Dreadball?
Yeah, it was Dreadball.
Yeah, Dreadball. Was making off with his Dreadball stuff, and he's like, hey, no, give that back. The guy did end up giving it back because Ronnie caught him, but that definitely sucks.
Yeah, the fact that somebody was bold enough to break into a home while the resident was there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the person just didn't know that the resident was there.
I mean, that could be. Otherwise, I'm starting to think that, like, apparently in Europe, breaking and entering gives zero shits as to whether or not you're home. So,
I mean, you never know. There are those people who are just bold enough to just kind of walk right in.
or maybe this guy's been waiting on his Dreadball Kickstarter for forever and took matters into his own hands.
I mean, maybe, but since they just released the second edition, I mean, especially since they released a second edition.
Yeah, this guy's probably like, something's not panning out. But yeah, it's jokes aside, I'm glad that everything worked out. Ronnie was safe.
Yeah.
Everything went down. He got his property back, all that good stuff. So it definitely helps. I wonder if he took the little Negan bat out there.
I don't know. Maybe that's why the guy left it, and he was like, you know what? Screw this. Here you go. You can have it back.
Right. Because I know they're trying to pass new knife laws in Britain. They say nothing about a bat wrapped in barbed wire.
I don't know. They may.
I'm going to play sports.
I don't think zombie bashing has been passed as a sport yet.
Give it time. We're almost there.
I mean, with Last Days, it totally becomes a sport that's legalized.
Yeah, and then one of them eats your dog, and it all goes south from there.
Man, I don't want them to eat my dog.
Well, there's an easy way to make sure that doesn't happen. Don't hire dogs into your group.
But dogs are man's best friend.
Mm-hmm. And a delicacy. But,
oh, jeez.
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, I'm glad to be painting something that's not bearded individuals with round shields with their own individual patterns. So, yeah.
Don't believe him. He was totally bitching about painting this dragon just before we started.
Oh, I was. I'm still bitching about painting the dragon. Let's not sugarcoat anything here. I cannot wait for this goddamn dragon to be painted. But yeah, it's coming along. I'll probably have it finished tonight. And then, we're doing photo shoots tomorrow. So I know that you're coming over later on in the evening. We're going to get those done and get that off. Nothing like waiting till the last minute. Because believe it or not, the photos are due tomorrow.
Oh, well, I didn't know the photos were due tomorrow.
Yeah.
I knew that you had a deadline of like the 13th.
No, the 5th.
The 5th.
Yeah.
So that's not tomorrow.
No, but we have Proto ATL all weekend. So tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously the goal is definitely to have it still all done, but that doesn't, we do have some time still.
Not enough. Not enough.
And anyone who knows Phil knows that he's a hard ass, so,
Yeah. But I can always bribe him with bourbon, so we're good there. Phil, if you're listening, just think about bourbon. That's all we're going to say, just bourbon.
Actually, oh man, what did I see the other day? I mean, it was a luchador, but it was something super cheesy luchador, and I was like, oh, where was it? Because I couldn't get a picture of it, and I couldn't send it to Phil, but that's all I could think of. It was like the luchador finds his love or something super cheesy. I was rolling because we had a long conversation about why Phil had to, was looking at reducing the amount of t-shirts he owned because he took inventory and he had 15 luchador t-shirts.
Yeah, that does not surprise me. So I'm going to get a little helpful advice to anybody out there that wants to get a game published. If you would like to get a game published through Osprey, all you have to do is contact Phil Smith. I'm not going to put out his information here because you could find it online. You could easily Google it. However, if you really want to guarantee that your game gets made, all you have to do is make it a skirmish game set during the period of the Crusades. So it has to be in England during the Crusades with bourbon drinking luchadors. That right there, I'm giving you a heads up now. If you make that game, Phil will publish it. I'm sorry, Phil. I had to do it.
Oh man, I feel like we just have to publish that game just to publish that game. I mean, I don't even know how we would justify any of it in there, but it has to happen.
Well, and my thing of it is too is like now I'm trying to think of titles for the game, and I'm like, I cannot come up with anything that doesn't just sound in its own way tongue in cheek, blatantly racist.
I mean, you can always go like Luchadors of Penzance.
Yeah, but that just doesn't have the panache.
I mean, I don't know. But I think the best part is that going to the Osprey booth, you walk by where TT Combat was set up, and they had this huge mound of Rumble Slam. And one time I walked up and I said, if I walk by that pile too many more times, I'm going to end up buying it. And Phil's like, shh, my booth faces it. I've been staring at it constantly. Don't mention it. I've managed to take it out of my mind for at least a minute.
So the other thing, if you want to do, if you really want to catch his attention, buy some Rumble Slam miniatures and tag Phil Smith in every post that when you post them online.
I feel like we should just encourage people to do this anyways.
Yes, this is very true.
Oh, yeah. I feel like making fun of or giving him a hard time by having that happen will be pretty epic.
Yeah. So speaking of Rumble Slam, I know that's another one that we kind of talked about in the docket somewhere down the line here.
I totally want it, and actually, David over at Gigabytes took a picture. Apparently, he has at least some of them in stock now.
Nice.
I don't know how many, but I did immediately post "Hold me" one, so I will at least have a starter of Rumble Slam soon.
Perfect.
For better or worse.
Well, that, and I know you've been wanting to jump all over Star Wars Legion as well.
I have. Oh man, I have so far, and it's proudly been. I have not bought into it. I've bought into other stuff, but I have not bought into Star Wars Legion. I don't know. I've been holding off. I've been fighting it. It didn't help when Robin talked about making the biker gang. And so he was trying to figure out if he could legally play with everyone on the speeder bikes. The answer is no, but then again, if he does conversions and stuff like that, friendly games, no one's going to say anything.
Yeah.
So he is looking at how to do this.
I have been avoiding the game, and not because I don't want to play it. It's just I know that, there's other stuff on my plate right now, but I know that where I am going to have a problem is if they launch all of the bounty hunters that can be played as their own faction. That is going to be an issue for me. And if they release Ewoks, I am fucked. Like I would play the Ewoks constantly.
Right? So that was the funny part, was that Robin was looking at different ways to do speeder bikes, and he was shooting over some different conversions for speeder bikes and this and that. And then he sent over this one, and it's actually a t-shirt, but it's got two speeder bikes, and it's got an Ewok on each, and each speeder bike looks more like what are those? What are the motorcycles with the big handlebar, stretched out?
I am forgetting the name of them.
I know. I don't know. Like one of them has ape hangers on it and all that. So it looked like, I'm like, oh my god, I just need one of those. I just need an army full of Ewoks on speeder bikes that look like that.
Oh yeah, and if they put an Ewok in an Imperial Stormtrooper helmet, like I'm screwed.
I mean, this can be done.
So
this can be done. I
just hope
did though.
I just hope nobody from Fantasy Flight's listening, going, "Yes, feed us more."
So the guys from Here 46 didn't do anything for Star Wars Legion, but there happened to be a lizard that they recently put out that looks very similar. And I did buy a couple of those. I couldn't help myself. So I haven't bought Star Wars Legion, but I've bought stuff similar to Star Wars Legion.
Awesome.
But yeah, so those guys are cool. You may end up seeing more stuff from them.
Yeah.
Ewoks may be included. So, speaking of Fantasy Flight and Star Wars stuff, they did drop that X-Wing 2.0 is coming out. I guess it's going to be a Gen Con release. The annoying part is I was trying to see what they had changed, and their main article was like, if you're a veteran, go read the FAQ. And I just kept reading their article just to see what it said, and it got longer and longer and just kind of more annoying. And so then I scrolled back up and went to the FAQ. I get into the FAQ, and it was basically that article all over again, but now with questions in it.
Because that's helpful.
I know, like each one of them was so long and with so many extraneous details that I was just like, oh my God, what the hell is wrong with you people? The biggest thing I got is your ships are, you can still use all your ship models.
I certainly hope so.
Right. They are putting out what they call a conversion kit, which the conversion kit contains a bunch of cards, new ship cards and dials and all that for 2.0. And it contains a certain mix of the cards. They split the Empire and First Order and then the Rebel Alliance and the Resistance. They split those off into their own factions.
Gotcha. Okay.
So those were some of the big ones. Then they were making the factions and their special abilities with pilots and stuff that they fly and do. They were working on making that more unique to each faction. So, it's kind of a good thing. You helps to bring more flavor into the game. And, at least that's what I was seeing. The one part that I was both, yay when I first saw it and kind of like, ooh, because I saw that they have an app for the game now, an app and a website so that you can build what you're flying and all that. And you can build that out. Which, cool, an online builder and all that. Then I noticed further down where they said that they aren't including point costs on any of the cards or upgrades. And then they addressed that that's all going to be taken care of using the app. And that, that makes me go, ugh. I get it. I get that you want people to use this app and the app's going to be, the most accurate thing and stuff like that. But I still kind of, it's like, if I go to a tournament, either I'm handing my phone to my opponent or I've got to, stop and print out the list, or they've got to put it all in, maybe it's possible that I can text it or, if they had something where if I showed up to a tournament and I joined the tournament, my list gets submitted into the system as I'm at that tournament. So, everyone has it organized and they have, their lists are up there. And then when I get paired off with somebody, their list shows up to me and my list shows up to them, so I can see what they're using or, whatever, so that there's that exchange of information. But, even just, slightly more competitive non-casual games unless I've memorized, point costs and what, things should total out to. How do I know you're not running a, more powerful list unless I ask you for it?
Yeah.
But that was just something that, just made me go, I don't know about that. Though I am all for all for making apps and websites that, allow you, the official builders, because, hopefully, you can, when new stuff comes out, it's in there and you can look at it, you can build stuff, it's handy because there is a lot of math to do. If you're trying to do all the math on the little cards, you're going to forget something or you're going to miss something. A nice builder, just helps to compensate for that.
Right, exactly. And honestly, I have not played enough X-Wing to have too much of a dog in the fight. See what I did there? But the point of it, I mean, if it's something to where it speeds up gameplay and makes it a little bit more accessible for people, I'm all down for it. We get this with every edition of a game that comes out. Like, obviously, when they release a new edition of the game, they're trying to do it to clean something up or fix a rule that's been sticking for a while, or like a couple rules that have been sticking for a while, revitalize the game. We see it every edition of 40K. We saw it every edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. War Machine. Every time they release a new edition, there's always those haters that jump on there and say, well, the game's all jacked up now. It's completely unplayable, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, definitely. And, I don't know if I've seen that. Well, I kind of did. I did see it for one of the locations that I was a member of in Florida. Apparently, it did for the longest time. I don't know when exactly it died off, but I guess the X-Wing community's kind of died down lately anyways. And a guy posted in there and was like, I think this is the nail in the coffin, for this area. I think this is going to kill it. Which, what was kind of interesting because, even reading through it, I haven't played X-Wing in the longest time, but, the backwards compatibility, a lot of the other stuff, just that I saw, doesn't seem to be taking away from it. I think the only, questionable stuff in there is going to be, what exactly they change in regards to, how things fly or operate. If they change it, and kind of ruin the, actual gameplay when they're, working on kind of making it fluffy, or, even vice versa. But, from what I've seen and all that doesn't seem to be the issue.
Right.
But time will tell. Maybe it'll even get me playing X-Wing again. Because that's, the game's generally fun. Plus, I have a big box full of the stuff.
Yeah. I don't have a ton, but it's always been one of those games. Like, I'd like to play it a little bit more, but there's also this thing called time.
Yeah.
Time that gets in the way.
Yeah.
Of a lot of that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Time is a fleeting monster. One of the neat things I did see as well with that is they're also releasing soon, or maybe around the same time, they're releasing a rebel kit for Saw Gerrera, his faction, so the rebels, and then I forget which one it was, some Imperial ships,
right?
And and so they're releasing, so that wave is coming out, and when it comes out, it said in there that they were including version 1 and version 2 stuff. So you wouldn't have to buy anything to upgrade it, after the fact, which I thought was a really good thing on their part to make sure that even though I think it's coming out just before the second edition launches, that it will work with either system, so people can buy it and still use it immediately.
Yeah, because I think that's also important, is that if they're going to do this, they need to do it in a way that's going to be as seamless as possible to get people jumping right back into the game.
Yeah. I know that I saw like the 40K series here in Atlanta. I happened to be at Gigabytes on Sunday, and I was shocked at how few people there were. Now there was a lot of stuff going on around Atlanta that could definitely pull people away as well, but part of it also was there was a massive FAQ from Games Workshop that changed a lot of what people were using, and that just barely dropped, so it really kind of wrecked some people's lists. So you do see that sort of thing when these things happen. Either edition changes happen or big FAQs. If you're an event coordinator and all that, and you had something planned and they drop one of these, it could totally ruin what was going to be a great weekend.
Right. Let's see. So yeah, that pretty much covers X-Wing as much as we know.
Yeah.
I mean, we can keep talking about it, but you can find it all online, and you could all think of it what you want.
If anybody knows more or anything I said was wrong, go ahead and let me know. I don't think anything I said was wrong, but just in case.
Oh, man. So, what else we got planned? That's it, I think, right now. Just getting some stuff painted.
Yeah, there's always stuff painted. There's always stuff being built. I'm
taking a few weeks off from writing any rules before I go on to the next book, just because, I need a break. It's been a lot of work. So,
yeah, it has.
And that's it. I don't think there's really anything else that I've got going on at the moment. Nick, you got anything else going on?
We have been talking NashCon.
This is true. We have been talking NashCon.
I know that
still tentative, but
yeah, Firelock's going to be there. Kind of looking at going. We'll be playing that by ear. That's like the first weekend in June.
Yes,
but I may have to pass on going with this one, only because I know. Well, I guess it's not right up to then, but work's going to have me on the road here a bunch in the near future for some different training and conferences. That kind of jumped out of nowhere. I was like, oh wow, I'm like never going to be around, or feels like it soon. which is kind of the other reason I jumped on the. Let me take some time off here, because it looks like I'm not going to be able to do anything for a couple weeks at least, except for the weekends. So it means get home, kiss the wife, have her tell me that I need to go mow the lawn, get on a plane somewhere else.
Well, that's going to happen.
Yeah, not too much, but it's. Everything's in flux and changing. I'm supposed to be moving offices, but I'm also supposed to be in class like the day that they have us slated to move. Finally, they've only been telling us that we've been moving since pretty much I started. Like any day you're gonna move, and then like they were like, all right, so here's when you're officially moving. Finally, and of course it's when we have like a big training class going on. It's like, really? You couldn't have chose any other, not this, this right here. And they're like, yep. And they're like, can we move it? Nope.
Yeah. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. Yeah, NashCon. Honestly, this would be my first event going to that one. So, whether or not you get a chance to go or not, based upon your work, is one thing. It'd be my first time going to NashCon. I know that they do Kings of War there, and Firelock will be there.
So, I mean, good reason.
That's about as educated as I've made myself.
Well, it is the, what is it? HGMS or whatever. Historical, is it HMGS? Historical Miniature Gamers Society?
Yeah, I believe so.
It is one of their big events, so
lots of Flames of War.
Bolt Action, Flames of War, other historical or period-based games, possibly even some pulp games. So lots of good stuff going on.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about some terrain. Those people, whew, they put to shame what I've been doing. They've also been doing it for 100 years individually, but that's another matter altogether.
Yeah, just individually 100 years apiece. If you go to any historical events, it's typically a bunch of old white guys.
Not all of them.
That's why I said typically.
But historical games, they just fit with certain people. And then they're retirees, so they have more time to go and do those things.
Yes, that's very true. But I suppose we should wrap this bad boy up. I know you still got some stuff to do for this weekend before we kick off everything with Proto Spiel, and I got this damn dragon to finish.
I do.
In the face.
Though tonight has been the calm before the storm night. I've just been goofing off doing different things. I've been playing with the Green Stuff World rollers that I got. I've been trying those out. I got a big order in from Gamer's Grass, so I've been checking that out. Drooling over my Gangs of Rome stuff. I should also have a box of terrain showing up any day of more buildings and stuff for it. So I will be cataloging that build after it gets here. And then I even had a big order from Grabblecast show up, so I've got a bunch of stuff for that to do. And, all of that will probably take me more than, time there is time in May. But then flip around, and in June, I'll have a whole bunch of stuff for Blood and Plunder showing up.
Yes.
A lot.
So many pirates.
And
natives.
I've got... I have to look back now. I think everything I've got is natives. Though I did get a flute. That's coming. A bunch of canoes. I bought a bunch of canoes.
Just nothing like a bunch of natives just paddling at you.
Exactly. I mean, I either got 3 or 5 of them. I don't remember. Probably 3. And then Piagua or 2. Yeah.
Which is probably one of my new favorite boats.
It is a pretty nifty boat. It was funny when we were at Siege of Augusta, and I was running that slightly too large demo table. I had the Piagua beached, and for the first few demos, I had the swivel gun on it. You can put the swivel gun on it. You can put a few of them on it for free or for cheap, and no problem. Well, the swivel gun really had no chance in hell of actually shooting my guys unless I ran them up there. So all it was really doing was anyone who was playing with it, in the boat, trying to use it, they were just wasting their time. But turn around and I put a cannon in there, and that cannon screwed me. They started being able to shoot everything. I was like, damn it.
That's usually how it goes.
Right? But then again, that made a lot of people happy when they're like, oh, you've got a bunch of people that are standing on firing, on boxes and all that on a firing stand behind a wall. Well, meet my little friend called a cannon. Boom. You don't have a wall anymore.
Exactly. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, that's going to wrap up this episode of Skirmish Supremacy. We will see you guys next time. Bye! Thanks for listening to another episode of Skirmish Supremacy. To see more of the antics that Nick and I do, you can check us out on Facebook at Skirmish Supremacy. We also have Twitter, which we can be reached at Skirmish Supreme, because apparently Skirmish Supremacy does not fit in Twitter. And if you want to email us directly, you can reach us at tim@skirmishsupremacy.com or nick@skirmishsupremacy.com. Thanks for listening.